Okay, and welcome to today's meeting. We're going to be talking about product creation, and now we're talking about production of the product. And I do want to remind you that whatever you conceive of being your final offer to your public, your prospects, this is a process you need to take. It's the baby steps to whatever other product. This is a format that once we've accomplished what we're going through this week, we're going to be able to take that creation and repurpose it in various different medium. And so that's going to be where the success comes from. So there's no skipping this, and I hope that no one has skipped the previous week's work, because then it's time to go back and do that very thoroughly. Um, Very important, especially with today's market. So, and I'll explain that more. I kind of left you with a cliffhanger there, but specifically, one final result of going through this process will be the production of a specific type of medium, and using that right now is a very successful proposition marketing-wise. So, I again cannot have you skip any of this and still have a successful, or think that you can have a successful end result, because this is instrumental in creating whatever it is your final result will be. So now there is a formula, and I want you to start though by pardon me, looking over your notes, your outline from last week, and think about if there's any specific sections that you need specific wording for. Okay, if there's facts or statistics that you need to compile, testimonials, whatever that is that you need specific wording, now is the time to do that, and insert those specific sections into your outline. Okay, and so that will be your work, maybe day one, maybe a couple days. It really depends on how much you need to dig to get together those facts, statistics, testimonials, etc. Now, and I was going to say we, because my mentors never ever recommend that you write everything word for word as you are going to speak it. That will create a robotic feel. And even if your end result is creating a book, okay, highly recommend you not going through the process of actually writing each word down. We'll go through the process as I describe here, unless you really are in love with the process of writing, putting words to paper. Then perhaps you'd write more than just those few critical sections. Maybe you are looking to write very specifically. However, consider using this methodology regardless. And if there are those sections that you need specific wording, great, do those, but try to leave the rest in an outline format that you're then going to speak, even if your end result is a book, because you will end up with that as a potential end result. So you've inserted your sections. You're going to then do it as a webinar of sorts and record it. Now, I am going to show you how to record it twice at the same time, two different ways at the same time, for the purpose of using it in various formats, and not having to go back and redo anything. And so that's why I have you do it two ways in once. It's a little redundant, but it can be very useful. You might as well. You get more mileage out of it, and again, you avoid any redundancy in work. So you're going to process that recording, or those recordings, into evergreen webinars. So those are webinars that run all the time without you having to be there conducting them. I'm not suggesting that you say that they're live webinars and have them be pre-recorded. They're just evergreen webinars. There's no assertion whether they're live or not live. They have a live feeling to them because you record them live initially, but then they run evergreen, meaning that you can see them at any point in time, or as you dictate, people can see them. And we'll get into that more later. You can create a book out of it, and I'm going to speak more about that in a little while. A course, a seminar, a whatever you want to call it. This is what you will use this recording to then create. You can create a lot of different products off of one recording, and a lot of times that is your funnel, different versions of the product. So let's move on. Outline to PowerPoint. Now, you can do this yourself, and for the first shot out, you likely will. I recommend having your virtual assistant, which you will be getting, and I'll be showing you how to get one in just a little bit. But I recommend that you have your virtual assistant do this, creating your outline into a PowerPoint in the future. But for the first one, just because you don't have a virtual assistant yet, you may have to do that. Again, I would love for you to have the virtual assistant first, but the process by which I am going to show you how to get the virtual assistant really lends itself best if you give them the audio and video to do as well, okay? And so you can, if you, and I respect you, if you want to delegate this to a virtual assistant right at the beginning, you can follow that process that I will show you at the end to just get yourself a person that will do outline to PowerPoint, okay? And then you could do that at this stage, delegate that out, and then come up with the next one. Now, I am also going to, you're going to see in the resources below, give you a template for the format that this PowerPoint should use in terms of the font size. So I'm going to give you a couple slides there that you would give them and say, this is the way it needs to look, okay? Or if you're doing it the first time, this is the way you need to make it look, okay? Don't veer from it. Don't try to make it pretty. That's not what this is about. Making beautiful PowerPoints here. We're making, the day that beautiful PowerPoint will show more effectiveness than what we call these ugly formats, where it's just text on white, black text on white background. The day that shifts, I'll let you know. But right now, this is what people consume the best, both in terms of marketing and in terms of their course retention. Fancy does not work as well. Psychological reasons. So, in the future, whenever you do any of these projects, which you may do a bunch of them, you may fall in love with the process. It is a fun process. It doesn't take much work, believe it or not, when you have knowledge. And then you can be cranking these out. In the future, you will have your VA turn your outline into the script, because there's no sense in you doing that yourself. And then it's just you using your brain for the things that your brain is needed for, not for things that really can be done by someone else. And again, I'm going to show you how to hire a VA in a little bit. And the method that I'm going to show you is one that was taught by me by the director of operations of a highly successful health and wellness online company. I was struggling with, how do I delegate? I was a horrible delegator. I was doing everything myself. She made it very clear I had to learn to delegate. This was 2 or 3 years back now, and then I said, well, I was so scared of hiring somebody even online. How was I going to do that? How would I make it work? I had some limited experience, most of it negative. It explained to me the method to use that I use now that is just phenomenal and gets you high quality individuals at very low rates. So let's move on. How to record. You will need to get yourself a decent microphone for your computer. Spend around $100 to $200 as long as you are purchasing something of quality. Don't get taken. This is a good microphone here. You might be able to beat this price by going to eBay. But this is, retails about $120. I know that Audio-Technica makes a very decent microphone. This is not a microphone you'd want to put Beyonce in front of, but for the purpose of recording your voice for webinars, non-singing, this will do just fine. I'm not saying that there isn't better and that I don't personally use better, just so that we're clear. Right now I'm recording using a webcam, which you're going to see in a moment. But a lot of times you'll hear my recordings, I'm using a microphone. I believe I spent $250 on it on sale. It was probably a $350 microphone. I got it on sale. And you should, you should get a $350 microphone for around 250. You know what I mean? Wait for a sale, get a good one. If you're going to do that, and for those, I've got, I, you know, I can't see the name. It's a little dark in my studio right now. This might be an Audio Technica. I really can't see it. I apologize, but that's a great microphone. Again, I think I spent 250 on that. I have a blue. I spent about the same on. Now that one I spent a little more. You don't need to spend a lot, but do spend enough, okay, where you're getting something quality. $100 to $200, again, as long as you do some comparative shopping and you see, okay, everybody's charging this amount, I'm not getting taken, right? This brand, this microphone, it's around that range. And then let's say you go to eBay and find it for $80. That's okay to do. But this is a range of price that will also reflect a certain degree of certainty of range of quality. Pardon me. I talked to you about my webcam system here. I've got less than what you're seeing on the screen here because I bought mine a couple years back. I love Logitech stuff. I believe I spent about the same amount of money, around $40. That's all you need to spend here. An HD webcam is good if you're going to show yourself. That's good. With the built-in microphone. That's important because the way we do our recordings, we need two separate microphones. So you're going to use your high-quality microphone, your desktop microphone, USB microphone for your high quality and for your audio capture, and you're going to use your webcam microphone for your webinar capture, and I'll show you that in a moment. Okay, finally, you're going to need an audio editor. There's free choices. There's this SourceForge.net product, Audacity. I have not personally used it, but I have downloaded it. Now, I can't vouch for it. I use Cubase. I spent money on that. I use Logic on my Mac. Those are overkill for what you need to do here. I like this AVS4U company. I believe their pricing is something in the order of $50 for a year of service. And you get to download, I think, whatever they have. They have video editors, audio editors, etc. You might want to look into that. I don't recommend that you start editing your own videos. This is just strictly to record. But it's certainly a good product. I use their video editor. I use a variety of their products. AVS is a solid company. So if you want to spend a little bit of money, I would use them. I would not use Cubase. Don't go buy Cubase and Logic unless you're also a music aficionado who's going to record music stuff. It's just overkill. Spend way too much money for no reason. This Audacity might do well. You need to test it on your system. A lot of these free programs have some sort of limitation, but check it out. Read about it before you use it and commit to it, or test it first. So let's move on. Recording your program. So there is a free option and a paid option. I want to give you both options. I do a lot of Google Hangout. You see me doing it right now. I love Google Hangout. It's free. It's solid. Occasionally there's this audio little skip that I hear. It happens probably on average every other Hangout I run that I've noticed. It might be happening a little bit more, but it doesn't affect too much. It's pretty solid. I don't know that the paid systems aren't going to do that. I haven't had too much experience with that. I do know that if I was to use a paid system, I would use GoToWebinar. That's what most of the folks in marketing are using these days. Again, a lot of us are using Google Hangout. GoToWebinar is built for webinars. So if you're doing a live webinar, especially where you want to host with a co-host, and that's in a separate place, then that probably is the software to use. If you want to really have that cohesive integration with your chat and questions and polls and all that, then GoToWebinar again would be the place to go. Google Hangout, though, for a lot of reasons, is an excellent source. So I do Google Hangout, and I've done almost no GoToWebinar any time of recent. So that doesn't say that you shouldn't, but those are your options. You can get a free trial and go to webinar, I believe, most of the time. So you could foreseeably, use that free once while you're creating your product, at least this first one. Now, I mentioned this earlier, you want to record your audio separate from the webinar audio for quality purposes. Okay, so you may ask, why do the Google Hangout at all? Because that's going to give you that live feel, okay? That we want that. We want you to just run it live. Now, you can also run it to an audience, okay? Now, how do you run it to an audience? I'm going to get to that, but not right this moment and not in this particular website. I'm going to do that separate, webinar. I'm going to do that separately. So if you want to do to a live audience, I do recommend it, and there's a way you can do that depending on your particular situation. So let's move forward here. Either way, you want to do it as though live. And those Google Hangouts, by the way, you'll make it live into the public. Anyone can walk in at any point in time. So you do it as though it's live. That quality is really great, okay? And I know somewhere in here I talk about how you present as though you're speaking to your friend, okay? Or a group of your friends, where you're the authority, but these are your friends, okay? So now, you're going to use your webcam with built-in microphone for the Google Hangout or your GoToWebinar, and your high-quality microphone for your audio recording. So if you're using Audacity or if you're using AVS. So start your Google Hangout. There's a number of ways you can do that from your Google Plus account. If you're using Google Plus, you can go to YouTube, sign into your account, create one if you don't have one. If you don't have a YouTube account, create an account. You're gonna need you should have that. You want a channel. I don't use that a lot, but it's possibly someday something that will be able to be leveraged successfully. So you do want a YouTube account. You're going to need it for this particular, and it will create a channel for you. So once you sign into your account, usually you see the upload button. Now I've seen them move that around, and you have to click on manage my videos first or my account, whatever. Find the upload button, and then you'll have the the options along the right. I'm going to show it to you right here, and you can click on broadcast. So the first step is click on upload. When I logged in, it was right there, and honestly, there's been times where it is not right here. I think that's wonderful. They finally put the button right here. I believe they should have another one that says manage my videos right here, but right now you have to kind of click around to get that. Once you click on upload, you then click Google Hangouts, click on broadcast, okay? And then, just make sure you select your webcam and your webcam's microphone for the audio. Exactly. Set your Google Hangout to use your webcam's audio and video. If you don't, remember, you're going to be also using the other microphone for your AVS or your free program. So whatever you want, you need to keep those separate, and your computer is able to detect either one. So just, the settings are easy to find. Easy to find these days. Very easy to navigate to that and select. If you have any trouble, you just type into Google, how do I set my Google Hangout audio and video? But really, you run into that. It's just right there as you're doing the process. Once you're in Google Hangouts, it's right there. There's a little button that lets you select. It's not like the old days where you better have that selected before you go into the software, because once you're in, you get locked in and then it crashes. No, you just, once you're in there now, you could just select any source at any point in time. Set your audio recorder to use your high quality microphone to record. Okay, again, that'll be easy. Now, when you record, I covered this already, but speak naturally as though you're speaking to a friend or a group of friends who are having the issue and you're the authority on that issue. Okay, so what do you do after? So I just skipped the big part there. That's you speaking over your PowerPoint. Look at your PowerPoint and speak. You can speak word for word in those sections that you need word for word. It's okay if you make a mistake. You may want to, despite that it is also a live webinar, you do want to go back and re-record those spots where you actually make a significant mistake. So just start over at the beginning of the sentence. That's it. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to acknowledge it. Okay. You continue as though it's live. The only difference is when I do a solely live presentation, I move forward no matter what. The difference here is you are going to want to use a very clean audio for multiple purposes. So all you do is stop cleanly and start back at the previous point that you recall. Calmly, no apologies, no other comments, nothing. You just restart. It's very clean, it's very professional. Again, the best way, we're in front of a live audience, just continue forward. It's natural. In this instance, you are going to backtrack. I don't care how many viewers are going to be there live. Remember, you need a multiple purpose for this. If you're concerned about that at the beginning of the presentation, you can say, for you, those of you who are attending live, I just want to let you know, we're also going to be doing a rebroadcast of this that's going to be cleaned up and turned into an audio program. So on occasion, I may have to repeat a line. That's it. You're covered, okay? If you truly have a bunch of people in there, you say that at the beginning, you say that's just the nature of it, okay? All right. Very important distinction. Very important distinction. Okay. So after, you are going to transcribe your audio. Not you, God forbid, you should ever spend your time doing such a thing. Now, here's transcriptionpuppy.com. I've never used them. I did a quick search. They're 89 cents a minute. There's a bunch of people that are $1 a minute. I go to Fiverr.com and get used to Fiverr. Go make yourself an account there and fall in love with Fiverr. You'll do odd stuff with Fiverr. You will, because the moment you actually start using this, you'll be like, oh my goodness, for every creative thought, I'm going to go to Fiverr. Here's what Fiverr is. For $5, people will do pretty much anything. So you could say, I need a logo designed. I need a video intro. I need the cover of my book designed. Okay. And now, again, on Fiverr, it's a little different than the other one that I'm going to show you. But because Fiverr, it's just $5, do this for me. So it's kind of a gamble. Sometimes I have people do stuff that I know it's not going to work out. So I'll get like 5 of them done. Usually I do 3. I'll get 3 of the thing done, and it's a $15 investment, and I end up using 1 that blows me away. That's a real typical day for me at Fiverr. I'll do 3 versions of anything. Get me 3 logos. I just, I want to choose. Why spend so much of your time with a person who's simply not getting it? Get 3 people, and then if none of them got it in the way you want it, get another 3 people. Now it costs you $30, right? These are no-brainers, folks. If you're in business, you need to know Fiverr, especially when we get to the point where we're getting your book cover done. Did I tell you I am going to make you an author? You really have very little choice, and you'll know why later, because it just is the way things go. Sometimes you're forced into being a famous author, and that is unfortunately part of what you're going to do. You may not, maybe being an author is literally the last thing on your list of things that you would like to do or even admit to being. In which case, when people you run into say, hey, didn't you write a book that I saw on Amazon? You could say, yeah, I did. Yeah. But yeah, moving on. That's not really what I do. What I do is this. Okay, that could be that. Or you may love the idea, in which case I'm going to show you how to be a true author. You will actually end up with a published book that will sell actually quite a bit. To the chagrin to everyone who thought that books are dead, you will actually be published and you will sell your book hopefully every day if you do this right. So anyhow, so go to Fiverr, type transcribe. There becomes so many options. You take a look around. I like to find people that have that little mark of approval that Fiverr will give when people have done good work and had good reviews. So I usually use those people. Um, and you know, this is a simple no-brainer. Some of them are doing it for like $5. They'll do up to 10 minutes of audio. Okay, so if you spoke for an hour and a half, let's say, that's 90 minutes. You're going to need 9 of those. So that's $45. Sometimes they'll give you a break. So you can already see like 89 cents a minute. Well, we just beat that by a massive margin, right? By going to Fiverr. So would I go to Transcription Puppy? No, I would not. I really, really shouldn't have put that there. I just like to give you options. Don't do that. Go be creative. Go start being an entrepreneur. Go to Fiverr. You know, and then you start. You love this because you may not use the same person ever again, but you kind of feel like they're your employee, even when you're not using them. You're like, yeah, I've got a logo designer, and you do. And you know, how about your friend says, yeah, I really need a logo, and boy, I've had people design and I can't stand it. Really? Tell you what, I'll have my guy get a crack, take a crack at it, and you might even sell the service depending on how close the friend is. Might be, yeah, I do logos. I'll guarantee it for $100. You'll get at least 5. You know, and then you're at least making $75 on the deal. I'm not suggesting you become a logo designer broker, but you could kind of see. I want to make the points uh, of how powerful this is, right? This is what I call the 24-hour workday, when you can amass a bunch of people working for a total of 24 hours every day while you do other things. But their 24 hours of work is on your behalf, so you're paying a lot less for that, sometimes as little as $50 and less actually. But $50 is a good amount to spend on 24 hours of work. Are you shocked? You shouldn't be, but you are, and I understand that. So let's move on. So here's the part that I love. Hire a virtual assistant. So this person ends up being your second body in a sense, okay? Because you're going to use them for all those things that require just time and effort that really you don't need to be doing. Now, look, I'm just showing you how to get yourself your audio and video editor for this thing. You can use this exact same method for anything else you have in your life. So let's say you're spending X number of hours a month. I apologize. I must have some cold coming on. X number of hours a month on your billing. Why do that when you can hire someone for $2.50, $2.25 an hour to do that for you? So let's say you're spending 10 hours a month on your billing. I'm sure you're making $120 an hour. So that's $1,200 of your time that's spent to billing. Get yourself a VA, virtual assistant, for $25, right? $2.25 times 10 hours. Major difference. Major difference. You could be doing other things. So you would use this same exact process. Do not ever let me hear that you have gone out and hired the first person that answered your ad. There literally will be dozens of people that answer your ad, okay? Dozens. You post your ad for free, dozens will answer, okay? Do not hire the first person because you like them. They sounded nice. Oh, I hired the person for $8 an hour. They just seemed nice, and they were $8. I'm sure I got a better deal by the better worker by paying $8. You did not. You're paying 4 times more than I'm paying. I'm getting 4 times as much work done than you're paying. Do not go falling in love with these people before they do a lick of work for you, okay? After they've performed literal miracles for me, believe me, I reward them, okay? I give them bonuses that are in their world astronomical, okay? I treat them very well. But before I know that they can do, they do not get big salaries out at the gate at all. I have found phenomenal individuals for $2.25. Okay, will not pay more than that for anyone starting out with me. There's no need. Why? When I have individuals that literally have parted the seas for me at $2.25, and then I can give them bonuses commensurate to what I believe they have earned. Okay, if that's what I want to do, then I could be Mr. Nice Guy. But I want to impress upon you, because I've heard so many people say that it's just frustrating as heck. You don't need to spend more. You do not need to take someone under wing. You are not here to sponsor somebody in a foreign country. and their family. That is not your role. Your role is to be a successful entrepreneur. Then, if your business family you've put together has truly served you and proven themselves and you'd like to reward them, I think you should, by all means. If you don't, you're kind of a cad. However, again, that this is not the stage. This is the stage where you are Scrooge. Okay? I'm sorry if that seems harsh to you, then you need to be on government assistance. This is the part where most businesses will fail. They will find a friend to do a job for them, a relative to do a job for them, some guy that we were introduced to, and they just felt obligated and didn't know how to say no. This is where they actually bring him in on as a partner. God forbid. Then they, oh, you're so great, I'm going to make you a partner. You just are so overwhelmed with joy that you have someone helping you. Suddenly you bring him in as a partner. This is the point where you can go completely astray. Okay? I have done that. Okay? Not just lecturing you. I'm lecturing me, my younger version. I wish the guy could hear me from here. I wish he could hear, let that guy go. Let that girl go. Years, folks, I supported individuals that should have been gone. The great people, not for the jobs I had put them in. Okay? Now, I've had some other people that are absolutely phenomenal that were friends, but look, that's a crapshoot, and it could have gone the other way. Okay, and it did for me most of the time. I just got lucky. I was stupid so long. I kept doing it. Of course, eventually I got lucky and ended up with gems. But don't ever. Okay, so now I've lectured you, and I apologize, but I got to make that point here. It's very easy to see this and start to feel like, oh, well, I can afford a few dollars extra an hour, and they look so good. They will suck worse. Okay, excuse my French, but believe me, you never know from what you're seeing at this point. That's why I'm going to show you my secret. And from this point on, I'm going to be succinct, because if you haven't gotten the point that I've made, then you deserve everything that comes from this point forward. Actually, whatever you've taken away, you now deserve the end result. So hopefully you're going to be really following what I'm about to say. Okay, go to Odesk. There's others, but look, I don't have experience with the others because Odesk works phenomenally well. Okay, there's Rent-A-Coder. I don't go to Odesk. I know that. I know that they work well for everything I ever need. Okay, and you won't get cheaper. I mean, cheaper than $225. And by the way, I do have one individual that works for 97 cents an hour. I can only use them for very specific things. They have absolutely no English skills, so it's always math-based things. And that's why, by the way, they work for 97 cents an hour. It's because they're aware of their limitations, and yet it's good for them. So anyhow, my point is you're not going to get a better deal. So you don't need to shop around for better deals. There's great deals at Odesk. Now you go in, you start an account, very simple, put up an ad for an audio and video editor who also knows PowerPoint. So you want audio and video editor, knows PowerPoint, speaks good, decent English. I wouldn't, maybe not use the word good, but decent, okay? Because you need them to understand you and what they're doing, okay? Speaks good or decent English, okay? And I write a little something. You're gonna need to be able to read what is in the PowerPoint. You're gonna be able to have to understand English and be able to line up what's written with the audio. So there's going to be words that you're lining up with audio. I tell them that in the ad. So no PowerPoint, know how to edit audio and video, and no English to the extent that you will be able to line up what is spoken with written words that say the same thing. Okay, very critical. And then Odesk these days asks, what level of worker would you like? Do you want someone who's going to be great, someone who's going to be really good, or someone who's entry level who's going to be horrible? That's kind of how they frame it. Choose entry level who's going to be horrible, okay? They will not be horrible. They will be resist making them your best friends, but you'll feel a great affinity for these individuals. They're phenomenally talented. All right. You can pay about, selecting your worker, you pay about $2.50 an hour for someone who could do the job. I generally find $2.25 an hour. I don't know why. That's the number I do, and I always get incredibly lucky with that. Would I go for $2.50? I have. I've actually even tried someone up to $3. Ultimately, everyone I have right now is $2.25. Okay, I'm just telling you that just so that you understand the layout of the land is that the price isn't necessarily going to get you a different individual. The process is. Now, this is where you get a little subjective. Select 3 people at that price point that you somehow do like, that you kind of do connect with. Now you're going to give them each your outline, your transcription, your PowerPoint. Okay, now this is your first time with them, so you're going to give them your PowerPoint, unless you're having to do them. Means when you do another one of these, you'll actually have them do the PowerPoint, so they'll already have it. Okay, but now this is your first one, so you've done it or you hired someone else to do it, and now you're giving it to the audio editor this time. So, and then give them your audio file as well. Okay. You can also give them the Google Hangout. They don't need it, so I wouldn't do that. Maybe save that if there is some immense confusion. However, I would just not end up hiring that person. Remember, you're selecting 3 people. Here's why. You are going to split test your workers. You're going to learn split testing a lot working with me. You have to split test everything. Why? Because whatever you're currently looking at is possibly better or worse than something else. So you always need to be testing against something else to either determine that there's something better and to start doing that, or to determine that you are already doing the better thing and to find yet another thing to see if you can best it. Get it? Always. Never sitting static. So split test your workers. This is brilliant. Again, I learned this from one of the top health and wellness companies, directors of operations that there is, okay, in the world globally. And she said to me, first of all, learn to delegate. You've got to delegate all this stuff. It's taking up too much of your time and energy. And don't be afraid of finding someone, because you're going to split test them like we split test everything else. And I said, well, how do you do that? And she said, well, get 3 people and then give them all part of the project. She says, at the end, you have a finished product free of charge and you have hired someone exceptional. Now, she is absolutely right. You're going to see in a bit how I say that you might actually pay for this, but wait, okay, wait. Because technically, this is the interview. The interview is them doing part of the project. So you have 3 workers in approximately a 90-minute program, right? Give each of the workers a third of the program. Okay, so you just got to divide it up. Okay, figure out what a third is. Divide. Have them create an edit using the PowerPoint turned into slides. They know how to do this. You export as slides. They should know how to do that. That's why they know PowerPoint. And the high quality audio. So they're going to make a little video out of that, okay? Or a long video out of that. But each of them doing a third. Now you're going to just monitor, see who finishes first. And then watch what they did. Does it look good? Did it work well? Who did gave you the least trouble working with them, right? Sometimes you get someone, you hand it to them, and they come back with it done. There may be a couple mistakes, but it's literally, you heard nothing, and all of a sudden, in an inordinately short period of time, they hand it back to you. And you're like, wow. And you literally go, wow. My audio and video editor literally is like that. When he's on for me, he is just so quick. So see who finishes first with the greatest accuracy and least trouble. Who did the best job? That's who gets the job. Now, here's the thing. You're having video and audio done by 3 different people. Now, you've given them specs. Even so, my gut is that your audio is going to bump from section to section. You've got 3 sections. So you have your complete product done, right? Technically, you spent zero, but you have your guy now that or your girl that you're going to use from now on, right? But the chances are, first of all, you got to blend them together. So you might just give it to that person and say, listen, what I would personally do, first time out, I'd give it to the person and say, listen, patch yours along with the other two together and let's listen to it and see how it is. So they'll do that and take them a few minutes, and then that's it for that might be all their job. That might be what you pay them for, like an hour worth of work for patching it all together. And it won't even take them that long, right? It shouldn't even take them that long, about that long. So you take that, you listen to it, you see if you can live with the different sections, the transitions. Maybe it works and you're done. Maybe it doesn't work and you have to have your last guy just recreate the other 2/3 and put it together. It's very, very simple. Okay. So you might know right off the bat, once you're experienced, look, this will never match, right? And then you just have him do it the first time out and you save that having him patch or her patch it all together. But that's your process, okay? Either have them patch it together or skip that and have them do the other 2/3 and pay them for that part of the job. But now you've got a solid new worker that's been split tested. You know that they're the best of three out of three people. I'm not saying that maybe you don't split test him or her again for your next project. Um, you know, you may do that. Generally, you won't need to, though. What will happen is if none of the three work out, which I've never had happen, you just go for another segment of three. So here's your summary. Get your equipment. You're just going to need to buy a microphone and a webcam with a microphone. So you're looking at somewhere around the neighborhood of $250. I'm sorry, $200. Somewhere in that 200, 250, 150, somewhere in that neighborhood. Get your software. Again, I would go inexpensive. I think you look at around $50 or less. Sometimes I like to buy software, folks. It's just easier. If it's a purchase software, it's straight up they're making their money from that business model. If it's free, they're doing it through an advertising business model. And so, you have to know that you're going to pay in another way. And it's fine as long as the software works and you're willing to pay in that way, that's fine. So, just know that though. Get your YouTube account set up, create your PowerPoint, record your presentation using Google and your high quality audio, hire your audio and video editor, and then create your final video presentation, course, etc. in the video format, okay? Now, next week, I am going to show you how to process that into some other formats. And we're going to talk about you as an author and why that is in the future. I see it in your cards. You're going to be not a best-selling author necessarily. That's going to be up to you. How successful you are ultimately will be completely squarely on your shoulders. But you will be somewhat successful. You will have a book. You will have it on Amazon. I mean, if you take the steps. See, this is the point where I start going into if you take the steps, if you do what you need to, because you've learned a lot right now. Knowledge is a great thing if you actually apply it. If you do not, it's not even good. I don't even want to use the term my dad used to use when he was looking at me wasting opportunity. It's no good for anything. You can't use it to mop the floor. Okay? It's just knowledge is only of utility if it is applied. So you're going to need to seriously look at how you're applying. So I'm excited for you because should you follow my directions and you start now, you're taking some serious action. You're getting close to having at least the product part done, which is very important at this stage. It's exciting, but this is where it's action. This is where, unfortunately, a lot of people sabotage themselves. Here is where the sabotage comes because It's where you start to actually see results. Some people are afraid of the results because they're afraid that they cannot produce good results. Some people are afraid of their results not because the results will be good or bad. They actually might think the results are extraordinary, but they're afraid the world will not view them as such. And ultimately, all types, and those are just two types of people who fall short at this point, are afraid of just getting a response of no, of it not working. Get over it. It's not going to work the first time. We're banking on that. We've got that. That's in the equation. Yeah, it's not going to work. We got to get to it's not going to work. That's going to be the stairway to, oh, look what we built now. And by the way, you're really never done with the stairway. You're always heading up. You're always just refining. Every failure will be your hint on what direction to head in order to find success. And so there's like a stairway going up or a path going forward, but the failures are ways of understanding, of feeling your way in this big room that you cannot see with conventional senses. You need failure to feel it. I'll never forget my first successes coming on the heels of failures um, that were the first applications of the knowledge. So I had the knowledge and it worked great in theory as knowledge. And then I went to apply it and it failed. And then I had success because I had experienced the failure. Now, it was an interesting sensation because I had failed, and then I'm thinking, by the way, folks, let me clue you in, specifically of Facebook advertising. Now, look, if your heart is set on some other form of advertising, when that's just not what we're going to be doing here at this point in time. I sense the opportunity there. My my mentors, my colleagues are mining those fields. That's what I know. Are there other fields? Likely, but I can't imagine the people that I know wasting their time in any but the richest fields. Okay, so this is just, it's a remarkable place. So, yeah, I'm speaking specifically of my Facebook experience where I had knowledge and theory. I went to apply it, it didn't work. But then because I had failed, I then applied it again, and the next time it did work. And I remember looking back and saying to myself, I cannot substantively define the difference between my first attempt that failed and my second attempt that succeeded. Couldn't substantively put anything to it other than having had the experience of failure. It was a pure moment for me to at least attribute failure in and of itself in a pure form as being the thing that was the catalyst for success. You see what I'm saying? I want to be really clear there about that experience because I think it's important to understand that in the context of moving forward for anybody who's afraid of failure. You need to start to love and adore failure. Welcome it because it means you did something. You have a chance. You know, when you're not failing, you're not moving. You know, and occasionally you'll get a success. That just rockets you forward, right? And then it's fine that you had a bunch of setbacks because you rocketed way forward because you just were consistent with your failures. But I want to repeat that because the experience of failure was the only thing I could attribute. The next time around, I did everything exactly the same for the most part. And yet, the experience was one of success. Fascinating. I need to go back to that first one to re-experience it again. I simply maybe didn't even recognize it as success. I didn't have the tools. I actually didn't have some of the eyesight necessary, the sensors necessary. So I go into this to impress upon you that you're going to need to take action right now. Now is the time you need to take the steps. It does not need to be great. In fact, it doesn't even need to be good. Not interested. Want you to be complete. And complete does not mean every I is dotted and every T is crossed and every word is spelled correctly. Complete means you got across the finish line. Okay? You might be limping, you might be tattered, you might have had, you might know that there's every opportunity to shower and put on a better set of clothes, but you are across the finish line. And you know what? We may come back to those clothes. Remarkably, the things that you will leave behind in the interest of getting done are likely things that you will never even want to go back and fix. You will likely shift just enough where those things disappear. Another interesting, and by the way, you could just stop listening at any point in time. You got everything you need to go forward and do your work. I'm just now, for those of you that need some hard love here, okay? That's all why I'm talking. Okay, if you're good to go, raring to go, go get to work. If you're going to be stuttering and I've got writer's block, don't ever say writer's block. Just write. It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, indifferent. Write. Copy someone else. Okay, it's okay, and then reference them. It'll get your writer's block off. Then comment on what they were saying. Yeah, this was written by so and so who's brilliant, and this is what I think about it, and it'll get your juices going. But never just stop writing. Never stop. This is an outline of you. Don't stop talking when you're talking into your recorder. Just do it. If you have what you consider to be a terrible speaking voice, just do it anyhow. It could be phenomenally successful for you. I can go into a lot of examples of people who have used intentionally strange speaking gaits, cadences, accents to create phenomenal results. I've had salespeople with straight American accents walk in, pick up a phone, and use a British accent and sell twice as good as when they were selling with an American accent. Not saying to do that, but what I'm saying, the point to illustrate is that don't get hung up. Just do it. Your style will appeal to someone. You may say to yourself, absolutely no way. Let me give you an actual example. Let's say that you've had a stroke. I do have, not in the current time, but I have had individuals who I've coached, consulted for, that have started another career after having a stroke, slight speech impediment or even more. But anyhow, you may not use but we'll get the written version out of it. Do you see what I'm saying? There is no impediment. There is no excuse for not doing it. And you never know, you never know. A lot of times what we think is our weakness can end up being at least more than adequate. So I want you off your mark, whether you think you're just not suited for this, whether you think you aren't dynamic enough of a speaker, whatever that is, just get out and do it. Be real. Speak to your friend. That will work well. Don't worry. If your end result is a book and you're thinking to yourself, wow, as I'm speaking right now, I don't feel like this could ever be a book. Don't stop and start over and try to sound like a book. Please don't do that ever. Let yourself talk. I'm going to give you resources at the end that will then, for you, take and make that a book. Okay? You don't have to worry about that. You have a book in you. You don't have to speak like a book. The format I gave you is book format. It can be derived from that. And a lot of what you construe is perhaps not the best language for presentation in book format is actually phenomenally well suited. And is best achieved through short sentences and clear thoughts, which sometimes I'm guilty of abdicating, but really you're best with short sentences, clear thoughts, short paragraphs. This paragraph's about this. So your PowerPoint is excellent because if you speak succinctly and speak to the point of each of your PowerPoint points, you actually do have a book. And the editing is minor. And again, you're not going to do the editing. You're going to do a final pass read at your book and just marvel at how wonderful it is and maybe make a few notes. But that's about it. You have a book in you. What other things could be getting in your way? Time. Well, time is a constraint. And I'm going to do something right now that you need to do. I'm going to stop speaking because I have things to do. And the way time is going to stop being a constraint for you getting this project done is to stop doing things in order to do this. You will just need to make a decision. Now is the time I'm doing this. Every day. Have I worked on my business? Have I worked on my business? Have I written copy? Have I done my homework? Every day. If I've completed my homework, let me review. So, just as I'm getting off right now to go do my work, you must get off right now and go do your work. And you will be consistent if you do it that way. If you consistently say, now is the time, no matter what, now is the time. Alrighty. See you next week.